In the imagination of many, America is a country of prosperity, yet there are places whose sight shocks and undermines this myth in the most brutal way. Among them, 11 neighborhoods stand out for material and social collapse, forming a contrast with the nearby luxury of large metropolises. Camden in New Jersey is notorious for terrible environmental conditions, problems with garbage removal and chronic pollution affecting residents. In the same city, corruption led to prison sentences for 3 mayors, which further weakened local trust in municipal authorities. The crime rate in Camden reaches 2,560 violent crimes per 100,000 residents, far above the national average. East St. Louis in Illinois is a place where daily shootings have become a sad routine, and instances of violence seldom cause a sensation. Crime analyses, DSCs, suggest that about 80 per thousand residents of East St. Louis each year come into contact with crime as either perpetrators or victims. New Orleans, after an apparent post-hurricane rebuilding, conceals peripheries full of abandoned and ruined houses whose residents did not always return. In many of these neglected neighborhoods, stays in abandoned buildings mix with ruins, creating a landscape of destabilization and lack of prospects. Mexican Memphis, though known for musical roots, has become synonymous with high levels of crime and insecurity on suburban streets. Low property prices on the outskirts of Memphis have attracted antisocial elements, and in some places, drug dealing takes place almost openly. South Los Angeles hides territories controlled by gangs in the shadow of Hollywood wealth, territories even recounted in a dark comedy film familiar to a wider audience. The history of attempts to carve out the district as a separate administrative unit shows the scale of problems and the local community's desire for self-definition. Orlando, a city of theme parks, also has a dark side in the Paramore district, where the crime level reaches about 20,000 incidents a year. Tourists concentrated around high-profile attractions are often unaware of adjacent areas struggling with a lack of public safety. Washington, beyond its representative part with the White House, conceals deepening poverty in areas such as Anacostia and Columbia Heights. In these areas, about 60 crimes per 1,000 residents are recorded, along with insufficient infrastructure for basic public services. In Las Vegas, the suburbs after the building boom have turned into abandoned estates, where many houses stand empty or have been occupied by new residents without formal rights. Such a picture of the suburbs resembles a ghost town, where police call-outs are an everyday occurrence and the former investment momentum has faded. North of Manhattan, a few hours' drive away, lies Breezy Point, a district that the hurricane of 2012 destroyed to such an extent that many houses were not rebuilt. Neighborhoods hit by floods and infrastructure erosion often lose former residents, which deepens the process of degradation and depopulation. Pine Ridge, an Indian reservation, reveals the extreme consequences of historical exclusion: addiction, deep poverty, and mass unemployment among adults. In Pine Ridge, about 80% of the population remains outside the labor market, and the average life expectancy is only 48 years for men and 52 years for women. Such statistics place the reservation among the regions with the lowest health standards and life expectancy in the entire United States. Detroit, once the capital of the automotive industry, struggles with a lack of basic services, including continuity of energy supply and access to clean water in some areas. While the city center has undergone partial revitalization, Detroit's outskirts resemble slums where the absence of schools and medical care intensifies marginalization. In some cities, demographic and economic changes create pockets of concentrated poverty that begin to resemble areas characteristic of less developed countries. All these places share some common features: neglected infrastructure, high levels of violence, corrupt practices, and a deficit of basic public services. The variety of causes includes job loss, industrial collapse, natural disasters, historical exclusion, and political decisions that impede rebuilding. The scale of the problems affects not only local residents, but also the nation's image, which remains at once a symbol of vast wealth and deep inequality. When avoiding these places, it is worth remembering that behind each image lies human tragedy and historical contingencies that are difficult to mend with a single administrative move. Awareness of the existence of such neighborhoods should prompt reflection on the mechanisms that segregate poverty and on ways to restore dignity to residents. When visiting America, prudence dictates keeping away from the most affected areas, but also understanding that the fate of these places requires solidarity and concrete action.